what makes you unique? So I've recently been diving into the Unique Self material of Mark Goffney and the Center for Integral Wisdom. And it really was integral for me to experience the idea that the teachings of meditation, which are about letting go of ego as identity, that, what we think we are is not who we really are. And then through experience, touching the place of who we really are, which isn't a concept or a physical place, but a direct experience. And the way that's been described is that we're infinitely connected to the all, or the one, with a capital O, the oneness of all that is. So I really have had a deep experience of that in nature, in appreciating the interconnectedness of all things, and how these huge trees at Yosemite fall and then are broken down by carpenter ants or termites and become just piles of dust over what I'm sure is a period of decades. But as you walk through these redwood forests, you can see that in process in many different stages. So recently fallen trees, recently decomposed trees, and then the pile of chunks, and then the pile of powder, and then you see that everything that you're walking on that trail, what we just call dirt or the earth, is made up of that dust, which is the same substance as the trees. And I've experienced it with the water, and visiting again Yosemite at all different times of year and different elevations, and seeing how a single snowflake becomes a waterfall and becomes the drinking water for the entire San Francisco Bay Area. So there's through nature I've experienced this opening to the vital connection of everything. And this is not even to speak of the animal kingdom, but just elementally I experienced that. And of course, all living things are intimately tied to those elemental ingredients that make up the substance of our physical bodies, organic material. So the oneness is something that I've, over the last 5 years, have been taking a deep dive into. And it's poetry. It's the beauty of existence. And there's a truth to it. A truth that if we only live at the level of society, culture, thinking, and conditioning, that we easily miss, especially at this time in our history where we're so bombarded by artificial constructs, I'll say, or things that are not connected to the larger oneness, at least not consciously. So we can easily live without touching the truth of our interconnectedness. So that's really step one in the awakening, is to have some experience of the truth of our oneness. And our meaning, not just people, but every living thing on the planet and every element, particle wave in the cosmos shares something in common. But what I've found in these last 5 years of teaching energy work and teaching creativity, teaching manifestation, whatever that means, bringing what's in our imagination into our physical reality, and how we can bring that ultimate creative force through us since we are connected. The piece that I haven't been able to fully integrate until this experience in Boulder was all the rest of it, meaning the details of my life, circumstances, the timing of, me being here on earth at this time, and then all of the other aspects of myself that I have developed during my lifetime, through my experiences. Some of which were chosen for me, but all of which were chosen by the oneness to happen through me. And that's what this story of the unique self-evolution has brought back to me, which is the incorporation and integration and inclusion of all of those elements of my own story as essential, non-coincidental, non-accidental, non-extraneous expressions of that same oneness as me. So when we say we're one, obviously we're not living in a bland, uniform environment where everything is literally one. There's extreme, beautiful, infinite diversity in our experience, in our environment, in our perspectives. And so that observation, that reality, is also, if we're going to have an inclusive description of our experience, that diversity is part of the one. And so we resolve that, or this is the first time I'm really hearing a teaching that resolves that there's a oneness and then an infinite uniqueness that are part of the same whole, and wholes within the same whole, W-H-O-L-E. And so what makes you unique is the unique intersection of your awareness of the oneness and your complete embrace. And that's such a powerful word, embrace. Your complete embrace of the uniqueness of you as the expression of the oneness at this moment in time that will never happen again and has never happened at any other time ever. So that's really big, and also for me very reassuring that all of my life experiences fit in and make sense and are applicable and are available to me. And I laugh because it's funny now to watch how I really had divorced myself from certain aspects, like that in order to be, quote, creative or, quote, spiritual, I had to take a certain stance against the rational mind, linear thinking, science-based thinking, and none of that is true. It's just for me to make that, to cross the divide that we have in our culture about ways of experiencing things. I had to set aside all of that conditioning, which didn't acknowledge, at least in my experience, it didn't acknowledge any of this oneness or presence. It all resided in the brain and in concepts that were written somewhere in a book that had to be believed and followed. Sound familiar? But now I'm awakening to the fact that I can bring all of this awareness, my awareness that I'm connected to the one, and that's through direct experience in my body and in my perspective, my way of seeing things. And I also have the ability to respect, comprehend, understand, and draw upon my past experience with other worlds, other ways of being. And that's ultimately, I see it as compassion in the ultimate form, because I've literally walked there. I'm not just imagining what it might be like. I can draw upon my personal experiences to connect to other people's personal experiences in their worlds. So, what makes you unique? I've been teaching the energy work of manifestation and imagination and visualization and coming into harmony with the vibration of desire for several years through vision boards and then through direct energy work in the Energy Gardeners Club. And what is that all about? It's about finding our own personal way to plug into the field of infinite potential, the field of all that is, the oneness. And of course, it's like making what I now see is like the Energy Gardeners Club is the experimental side of the theoretical physics. So there's theoretical physicists and experimental physicists, and one group comes up with frameworks to explain things, and then the other group takes those frameworks and builds ways to test them empirically, and they usually involve very, very large machines and electronics to measure collisions among small particles. So we can do that at the level of our person also, where we come up with a framework that we want to test, like, what happens if I pay attention to Volkswagen Beetles, and then do the experiment, which is to bring your attention to Volkswagen Beetles and count the number of beetles you see. So you're becoming the superconducting super collider in your own body. So what was missing for me from that experience is the unique part. And this is what awoke in me again through Mark Gaffney's course, and this image of that perfectly captures the combination of uniqueness and oneness, which is if we think about the exact way that we plug into the field. And this is an image that also Pam Grout used in her book E Squared. It's like the field is like electricity. You don't have to go make it, and there's nothing special about plugging in. We can all take, if we have an outlet and a socket, or the plug, we just plug in and it's there. It's already flowing. But so if you imagine an electrical outlet, all the sockets look the same. But the image that the unique self model uses is thinking about that socket and your plug being unique, like, so the shape of it is unique to you, and how it fits in, how you fit into the field is tailor-made for you. So there's this place where you plug in, where you fit perfectly into this whole mesh of the oneness, and that shape, the shape of that puzzle piece, is you, your uniqueness. So all the contours of your particular set of experiences, desires, talents, tendencies, aesthetic, people in your circle of influence, that whole three-dimensional experience form fits into the field in an exact way that's perfect for you, and you find that by just becoming, being, embodying, embracing all of that uniqueness. And so the more you can come into recognition of those contours, the more ease you find yourself fitting into exactly your way of plugging in to the field. So it's this beautiful picture of all these unique puzzle pieces forming a giant infinite one, and that we only need to really find our puzzle piece in great detail, with great care and reverence, and then plug in and recognize that without us, the mesh is incomplete. And when we step into it, we become beautifully connected to every single other piece in this puzzle. And that is it adds for me another layer of beauty and magic to this process of going beyond the ego identity, coming into this place of oneness, which in my experience is always at peace. It's already healed and has everything it needs at all times. And yet we have this world that we live in, this material world, that's also a very direct expression of that place that's already healed. And we see all of this outrageous pain. And the only response to outrageous pain is outrageous love, another teaching from Mark Goffney. And so what is outrageous love? It's the audacity to claim all of the contours of your unique self, all of the dark places that you rather not look at and touch, and all of the amazing brilliance that you have that maybe is also unrecognized. But it's that willingness and cultivation of seeing and embracing and being and becoming all of that beautiful uniqueness, and then plugging in to the oneness, bringing that into the field as you, not as a generic plugging in, but as a radically unique way of plugging in. And experiencing that. So that's what makes you unique. I hope that inspires you to continue meditation practice and other ways of experiencing presence, and knowing that it's not separate from the circumstances, story, strengths, and vulnerabilities that you and only you can and ever will experience for all of time.